Imagine this. You are a sailor in one of the many watering holes that line the Savannah waterfront. As you sit and enjoy your drink, a cup of whiskey, you take in the sounds and atmosphere around you. Before you know it, you have finished the whiskey and you're wanting for another. So you call the barmaid over, a pretty little thing with sparkling brown eyes and hair caught up expertly in a bright yellow scarf. Canary yellow, to be exact. She smiles at you as you ask for another taste of that fine whiskey. She gives you a small, polite smile, then goes to complete your request. She hands you the drink and you finish off that one as well. But unlike the first drink, something is different. Your head is spinning. Your vision represents that of a vignette. Thinking it's high time you get back to your berth to sleep this off before the next day, you decide to leave. Your legs are shaky, but you've been here before. Or have you? As you shuffle towards the door, the barmaid goes to steady you. When you look at her this time, however, she does not look as charming as she did before. There's mischief in her eyes. No, not mischief. It's danger. She looks dangerous. Come with me, sailor, she says in a deceptively saccharine voice. You don't look so well. You refuse to go with her. Incapacitation is starting to take over. Your field of vision is getting smaller and smaller. And when you wake again, you're lying in a hammock on a rocking ship. But it's not the ship you were originally assigned to. No, because you have been shanghaied, crimped, snatched to work for free on a ship bound for parts unknown. Welcome to Painted Haint Travel, a Travel Normal podcast. Hello, I'm your host, Adri Hayes, and tonight we are talking about something that lives rent-free in my brain, which is Shanghaiing. So what is Shanghaiing? It is defined as the practice of kidnapping sailors by coercive techniques such as trickery, intimidation, or violence. The people who did the Shanghaiing were known as crimps. So there's a lot of this whole industry, if you will, has an entire slang or its own dialect. I don't know what to call it, but the people, like I said, the people that did the Shanghaiing, the kidnapping, were known as crimps. So you could also be crimped. And the reasoning behind the name, as far as Shanghai, which is a city in China, is because the port of Shanghai was a common destination of the ships with the abducted crew. So where does Shanghaiing start? So this practice originated in 1850s San Francisco, or you may have heard it called Frisco back during like the Western times. And Portland, Oregon was another place known for Shanghai. So you may have heard of the Shanghai tunnels. And we'll kind of get into that later, but I want to focus on another city that's dear to my heart. So San Francisco, on the other hand, was known as the Queen City of Shanghai. Of course, Shanghaiing, aka crimping, occurred and flourished in other coastal cities such as Liverpool in the UK, Astoria, which is Oregon, I believe, Seattle, Port Townsend, another city in Washington, and Savannah. Savannah. Yep, people sleep on my second home, but this went down there too, so it went down in Savannah. Now, Shanghaiing could happen to anybody, which is what made it so terrifying. It was said that race, age, sex, national origin, and state of health did not matter. Emphasis on state of health. So a person could also be shanghaied for simply being someone's adversary, which was pretty popular in San Francisco. They would take people like say like you're in an election and the incumbent or whoever doesn't like you, so your opponent doesn't like you, you could be shanghaied and never seen again, or come back, years later, and there you are, gone, because you're gone for like 6 or 7 years, if not more. So, like I said, all this did not matter, so the sex, the age, and the origin, because crimps were paid per head. So they could essentially snatch anybody. They would even go so far as to pass off dead bodies for potential crewmen. And I have reason to believe that happened a lot because of the way that crimping or Shanghaiing was done. So wharfside saloons, so saloons along the water, were the best place to get these crewmen. Or really victims. Let's just call them victims. Since everyone was fair game, in which they would be plied with drug-laced whiskey. So they will essentially drug a person, as was illustrated in the intro. And that person could die because of what the whiskey. In Shanghai Kelly's sense, who was a San Francisco Shanghaier, he would lace cigars with opium. So you can imagine how many people dropped on his watch. So once a victim was drugged, they would then be dropped through a trap door, which would lead to a tunnel leading to the nearest waterfront. So whether that be a river or an ocean, they would be taken there. So some famous Shanghaiers were Shanghai Kelly, who operated out of San Francisco. I think he was the one that was said to have hosted a fake birthday party, and he got like 100 dudes like out of this party to be put on ships for needy captains. Mother Bronson was another one who operated out of San Francisco. She had a saloon. Mrs. Piggott, once again from San Francisco. They all had these saloons or bars or watering holes where sailors and, regular landsmen alike would come in and, get their drinks and then be drugged and taken out to the awaiting ships. But, like I said, there were other places where people could be kidnapped. So, before we get into that, I do know about the Portland tunnels, or the tunnels under Portland. And they're scary too. I've heard the stories. Although I think one of the more like realistic scary situations is the story of Nina, who was a woman who was kidnapped by crimpers, Shanghaiers, or what have you. And I believe she was sold into sex slavery. So that's terrifying. But I want to shout out my second home, Savannah, Georgia. So, like I said, we've all heard about the West Coast Shanghai, but nobody, I don't know if it's maybe Southern culture, but nobody talks about the fact that this was happening in the South or on the East Coast as well, as much as they do about the West Coast. And maybe that's because we've still got that, like, the West is wild and whatever, the frontier. But like I said, we're going to talk about Savannah. So, yeah, Savannah had its own Shanghai scene. I say it like it's like they're hipsters or something. So it's crazy to me, like I said, because it's a coastal city that no one talks about. So much like Portland, Oregon, Savannah has tunnels till this day running beneath it. And some of these tunnels run beneath a well-worn watering hole called the Pirate's House. So the Pirate's House was originally the site of an experimental garden started in 1753 for the purpose of seeing basically what could grow in the colony of Georgia. And basically also what flourished here. So later the place would become an inn for seafarers since it was literally a stone's throw from the Savannah River. Like till this day, you can walk out of the pirate's house and see the Savannah River, if not for all the many hotels now along the river. So sailors were said to go there for a drink, only to be drugged and taken down to the basement through a tunnel and dragged onto an awaiting ship. Now, remember, earlier I said this is a travel normal podcast. So let's talk about the ghosts that reside at the pirate's house. And yeah, shout out to my people out west. Yes, Portland, Oregon has its ghosts too. The Nina story freaks me out. I don't like to hear whistling, in which I don't know, or rather can't see who's whistling. But back to the pirate's house. So the spirits of these crimped victims are said to still be around. And I can attest to that. The pirate's house has an energy about it. It always has. Ever since we've gone there. It just emits this energy. Now, on my part, it's kind of comforting, but on the other part, there's still like this little creep factor. Like, it's like, don't go around there alone type feel. But luckily, I have not witnessed what people have said pops off there. So people report hearing moaning and wailing coming from the tunnels. One visitor even saw an apparition in the tunnel. And this is, I think, before the pirate's house was a restaurant. So this man had gone down into the tunnels and he was looking, he was exploring basically. And he said suddenly in front of him, he said he saw a vision of two men dragging one man between them down the tunnel. And they were going in the direction of the Savannah River, which is less than a mile away. So they said that he was so freaked out about that, he just ran. And other ghosts that are there, of course, seafaring men. So there have also been reports of glasses in the bar flying off the shelves, as though someone is pissed. And that would make sense, given that some of these victims were more than likely, killed in the drugging attempt. So there's also the spirit of a little boy who has also been seen sitting on the steps of what was once the Herb House, which lies adjacent to the restaurant. Now, they said that because this was a residential, place at one time, it could be someone that once lived there. But I don't know, because crimpers, Shanghaiers, whichever you want to call them, like I said, sex, origin, all that, age didn't matter. So maybe he was somebody, a cabin boy or a child that was snatched and, taken out to sea, and he may have died in the process. But yeah, I mean, and to be honest, that might be a bit of a stretch. But I don't know. These cities down here have so many secrets. Like, who knows, So the pirate's house is located at 20 East Broad Street in Savannah, Georgia. And so if you want to visit, by all means visit. And their food is so good. Their drinks are good. Their everything is good. Also, the atmosphere is kind of cool. A little trivia note. If you read Treasure Island, aka if you're a nerd like I am, Billy Bones, who had Flint's treasure map, mentions that he had this given to him at Savannah. It blew my mind. Like, it melted my face. I brag about this all the time. So in Treasure Island, Captain Flint gives Billy Bones a map trivia of the island. And so, check out the pirate's house. Get you their shrimp plate. And a Savannah punch. Oh my God. Oh, it's so good. I would read the menu out to y'all, but that's not what this is about. So this has been Paint It Haint Travel, a Travel Normal podcast. For more content like this, you can check out my YouTube channel, Painted Haint. And thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.